Shut up and sit down.
Namaste, friends. I'm Simon.
I'm Ellie.
And if you enjoy our videos, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and of course hit that bell thing. That would be very kind of you indeed. And tonight, as always, we're being surprised by you guys, our viewers, who have recommended we check out movie trailers and film our silly reactions to those.
So what do we have coming up next?
Well, as you well know, we checked out the Buggy series a little while ago, and we really actually enjoyed it. I know some people are not big fans, but it was our kind of thing. Everybody, when we reacted to Buggy, said, well, if you liked Buggy, you're probably even more like a series called Commando. So we've reacted to the first two Commandos. You can see the first one if you hit that link up there, and then follow it on to the second one. But I'm really excited to see where this series goes next. And the third Commando movie was made in 2019. It still stars the impossibly handsome martial arts superstar Vidyut Jammwal. But this time he's joined by Bhavana Reddy, a character that we saw in the second movie. So in the first movie, we saw Karan trying to rescue a lady that was being forced into an arranged marriage that she didn't want to be in. In the second movie, we saw him trying to break up a money laundering scheme against the criminal underworld and the banks. In the third movie, though, we see him go toe-to-toe with terrorism. And in the third movie, Karan and Bhavana find out about a terrorist attack against India that's due to take place on Diwali. And they find out that it's being planned from London. So for the first time, we see Karan and Bhavana head out to the United Kingdom, our old stomping ground, to go and figure out what's going on with this terrorist attack. Now, unlike some movies, this was actually filmed in England. It was filmed in Bradford and York, and if you hang around until the end, I'll tell you maybe a slightly amusing, slightly boring story about Bradford. But anyway, the thing I'm wondering, though, is Karan didn't seem to pull any punches in Commando 1 or Commando 2. I wonder, when he and Bhavana are wandering around London, what the UK is going to think of his methods, and if he's going to be able to stay there for very long. But either way, this third movie was a huge commercial success. It made more money than the first and second movie combined, so certainly people really seem to enjoy it. So we're going to go ahead, check out the trailer now for Commando 3. If you want to see what we think about it and hear my boring story, then hang around until the end. But for now,
let's go.
Let's go!
हिंदुस्तान रोएगा, खून के आंसू रोएगा. There will be a civil war. मैं रहूं या ना रहूं.
Oh my God!
एक ही आदमी है जो इस मुद्दे को जड़ से उखाड़ सकता है.
Wow.
करण सिंह डोगरा.
Oh my God!
सर, ये आदमी दुनिया की किसी भी कोने में हो सकता है, पर इसके लंदन में होने के चांसेस सबसे ज्यादा हैं.
अगर तुम्हारा अंदाजा गलत निकला, ये देश कभी माफ नहीं करेगा.
Wow.
इस बार मातम इंडिया नहीं, कोई और मनाएगा.
Nice.
तुम्हारी टीम में इंडिया से होंगी भावना रेड्डी और ब्रिटिश इंटेलिजेंस से मलिका सूद.
मतलब इंडिया ने भेज दिया एक और हीरो टाइप एजेंट.
हमारे यहाँ का हर सिपाही हीरो लगता है.
काफी जज्बाती हो.
सिर्फ भारतवादी.
क्या डायलॉग मारे, सीटी निकल गया.
ये तो आंखें और आवाज के अलावा इसके बारे में हम कुछ नहीं जानते.
इससे पहले कि वो हमें ढूंढ लें, उन ऑफिसर्स को ढूंढो और खत्म कर दो. तेरे ही देश के बदनसीब मुसलमान तेरे ही देश के खिलाफ खड़े हो जाएंगे.
इस मुल्क का मुसलमान अपने हक के लिए लड़ता है और उसे लड़ना भी चाहिए, पर वो कभी इस मुल्क के साथ गद्दारी नहीं कर सकता, ये मेरा यकीन है.
3 घंटों में मैं यहाँ से निकलूंगा सही सलामत. And you can't do shit about it.
I will have you shot down.
औरंगजेब कश्मीर, विक्रम पत्रा कारगिल,
नेक्स्ट करण सिंह डोगरा लंदन।
Nice.
पहले पर्दों में छुपा करता था, अब मर्दों में। बहुत जल्द कब्र में छुपेगा तू। बचा सकता है तू खुद को, तो बचा ले।
Oh my god! Holy crap! Wow, okay, so we've now seen the trailers for all 3 of the Commando movies. Let's get into it. What did you think?
Obviously, we like that he went in a hole.
Yeah.
Had to jump through that car window. That was good. That's probably the only hole they could find that was big enough for him to get through.
I may never open a car door again in my life.
Yeah,
I may
we'll
just jump
roll
in
the
through
window
windows.
down. The other thing it made me realise is I'd never before understood when you describe someone's physique as shredded if they're really buff. But seeing his back in that opening thing when he was in that wrestling arena, and just, he was literally shredded. Like, you could see individual strands of muscle. People, how do you get to look like that? It's baffling. That must have taken some really serious work on his part.
Yes. It's funny, in the second Commando movie, I was saying how much his physique had grown between the first and the second movies. And I was saying that it really reminded me of the kind of Pelwani or Kushti wrestlers that we were seeing in movies like Dangal. And then in the third movie, he's actually a Pelwani wrestler. And the big baton thing that he was clobbering people with, that's the kind of thing that they use for weight training and combat training in traditional Indian wrestling. So, yeah, I thought it was interesting that maybe, I don't know whether he did use that technique for training, but he certainly is jacked as a wrestler. I mean, huge dude. I agree with you, though. Like, in the second movie, he looked like he'd packed on tons and tons of muscle. In the third movie, he looked like he'd lost every ounce of fat. Like, he was so shredded. It was incredible. Now, this one was set in London, which was a very different kind of visual feel. And I really liked it, that you had these kind of traditional Indian backdrops and then into modern day London and then back again. And it was very varied in terms of how the scenery looked, as opposed to the first movie that was pretty much just forest, right? So clearly a much, much higher budget movie, but it paid off for them.
And there is a huge Indian population in England, as well as obviously you guys know, you've probably got family over there. And so that rings true as well. And I like it that they were speaking to British Muslims as well and kind of defending them and talking about them being patriots and not betraying their country. That was really nice to see.
Yeah, I agree. Because, I mean, let's be real. We've seen in most cases after a terrorist attack that was carried out by an extremist group, the blame falls on Muslims. Like, there's a natural tendency amongst the population to blame people who look and sound like the terrorists. But of course, that's not true. You know, there are good and bad people in every population. So, yeah, I also loved it that they called out the good, patriotic Muslims who would do anything to defend their country. I thought that was really, really cool. And yeah, to your point, you know, especially where we used to live, there's a huge Indian population. There are areas where you have Indian people, like whole areas where you have massive Sikh populations. And the most common dish in the UK is now officially chicken tikka masala. Like, it's not shepherd's pie or anything traditional and English. It's Indian food. And I always really enjoyed that kind of cultural melting pot. So it's kind of cool to see that explored in this movie.
Yeah, one of the most common restaurants in England is an Indian restaurant, and every town has an Indian restaurant, and it's probably more common than any other type of cuisine if you're going out to eat.
But this movie much more showcases female martial artists, and we saw Bhavana Reddy in the second movie. Holy moly, is she a lot more hands-on in the third movie?
It was nice that they had that kind of agency, because I feel like with a lot of the trailers that we've seen, often the women are damseled and they just end up being objects to be rescued, and then they are a prize to be claimed, and quite often they might get to hit somebody, but generally they're just kind of there to be carried around and move the story along, but it's nice to see them having so much agency and being witty as well, like that back and forth when he was meeting the government agents. That was really fun.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. We see a lot of Western movies where you get a really jacked, muscly hero and a comedy sidekick, but that comedy sidekick is almost invariably male. I can't think of a time when you've had a really attractive female comedy sidekick who is also skilled in martial arts and is kicking butt herself. So, yeah, that's something I haven't seen before. And having two women along with him as well. I forget the name. I think the other lady was called Malika in this movie, but both of them really beautiful women, really skilled in martial arts, and both of them making fun of him the whole way through, which I just thought gave it a really, really interesting dynamic. And having the two women kind of poking fun and making jokes means that his character, Karan, can be super serious and deadpan and not have to react to that stuff, and the comedy still works. So, yeah, I could definitely understand why this one was such a commercial success. And, Bradford, where this was filmed, and it's probably the bits with the tiny windy streets that are supposed to be London. I used to be in a heavy metal band, and we got told that we were going to be doing a few gigs in Northern England, and we played a gig in Bradford. And we got there, and it was a tiny pub in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of just fields and fields and fields. And we drive into this pub, and there's a sign on the door saying, "London's foremost heavy metal band, Carnal Rights." And nobody up there likes London. There's this whole kind of north-south divide, and we go into this pub, and it's just wall to wall. It was pretty packed, wall to wall, angry looking guys just staring us down the moment we go in there. And we start playing. I don't think a single one of them got out of their seat. They just stared us down the entire set that we were playing. And I don't think we've ever packed up our van and got out of there quicker than we did that night. It was like, "Thank you very much, good night." And we grabbed our stuff and ran for the van because we literally thought we were going to be murdered. So that's my silly Bradford story. Not that exciting, really. I could have jazzed it up a little bit. Yeah, then I dived through a small hole, grabbed some dude's head as I went through and broke his neck, and then flipped upside down. And really, everything we said about Commando 1 and Commando 2 still applies. Incredible martial arts. I cannot believe the stunts that Vidyut Jammwal is doing with no cables, no ropes, no trampoline. There's a bit at the end where he just jumps on a dude in midair, grabs the guy by his legs and flips him through the air. And gravity doesn't work that way. I mean, the guy is amazing.
Maybe he's immune to gravity.
Maybe he's actually secretly a superhero. And
that would explain so much.
It would. Yeah, that would be cheating. I suspect he's just worked really, really hard for years and years and years, and that's probably the trick.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Nah, screw that. Well, there you go, friends. Thank you so much for recommending the Commando series to us. What a great-looking threesome of movies. I can't wait to actually check them out. This is exactly the kind of thing. The biggest question I've got, though, and what everybody was suggesting to me, is they think the Commando series are better than the Baghi trilogy. Would you prefer to watch Baghi 1, 2, and 3, Commando 1, 2, and 3, any kind of variation of movies within those two trilogies?
I feel like I couldn't pick favourites between two impossibly handsome movie stars. So I think 6 movies featuring impossibly handsome guys, that's fine. I don't need to choose.
That's a pretty good 12 hours, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That's not bad.
Fine by me. Let's get started.
Yeah, for me personally, it's funny. I really, really liked the look of both the first Commando movie and the first Baghi movie, in that they were very raw, relatively low budget, relied a lot on kind of physical stunts and physical fights. I really liked that about both the first movies in both trilogies. But saying that, I love the look of Baghi 3, where he's got this kind of nerdy younger brother who he's protecting, who just shouts, "Rocky!" And his brother comes running in to save him, whether he's in what looked like a Delhi or Syria. And so I really liked that aspect and this kind of comedy angle to that. I really also like the comedy angle of Bhavana and the other lady, Malika, I think, in Commando 3. So I could probably actually go for maybe the first and the third in each of those trilogies if I was forced to pick them. Well, there you go. As I say, thank you so much for recommending these movies, for recommending every movie that we check out. We really appreciate your recommendations. We hope you guys are staying safe out there in India. And of course, you will see us very, very soon on the next Dork trailer ambush.
Peace out, nerds.
Bye, Commandos.
Shut up and sit down.